I got a good deal on a GPU.
Watch out, it might be fake.
It's not a fake.
How do you know?
I know. I googled it. Why did you get a fake?
Of course.
You have a fake?
Yeah, it works.
And nobody knows? How can nobody tell it's fake?
You didn't know?
This whole time we've been playing games
Yes,
together
yes.
and you had a fake GPU? What about the cool pictures, the benchmarks, all that stuff? What was that?
Fake, 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 fake.
I don't know what to say. This changes everything.
And so we're back to look at another budget GPU, $25. This is the 750 Ti that I posted a video about just a few days ago that I bought on eBay with a broken fan. There was a shroud here, but when I looked at it, it looked weird. The heatsink's weird. It feels cheap, and it just, there's no brand name on it. 750 Ti, it just says right there. Okay. Anyway, we saw that video already. So I was talking with a buddy of mine about that, and actually before I told him about it, he had a 1050 Ti on OfferUp, and I messaged him. I didn't know it was my buddy at the time, but when I messaged him about this 1050 Ti, because I was still trying to find a good GPU for $25, and the 750 Ti worked, but it works terribly. So I messaged the guy, and then he goes, "Hey, it's me, my old friend." Like, oh, okay. I didn't even realize that was him. So he had a 750 Ti. There weren't a lot of pictures of it. It just was like a picture like that. And he had listed it for $40. And I said, "Would you take $25? Just a typical offer you would do to people to try and get a GPU for $25. He said, "Yeah, no problem. You know, I know you, and I'll ship it out to you right away." And I didn't ask for any more pictures of it. I just assumed it was a 1050 Ti. And he actually shipped it to me before I even paid for it, which was cool. But while it was on the way, I was looking at the picture that was posted, and I was thinking, because I was looking up reviews of 1050 Ti's to see what they were. I wasn't familiar with 1050 Ti. I've always done 1060s. I said, "What brand is it?" He says, "Oh, it's a Gigabyte." So I said, "Okay, no problem." And then that was that. I did notice that the color here was blue, and there is a Gigabyte version, but it has an orange paint scheme. And so I was like, okay, I don't know. So what happened was I got it within a day or two, pretty quick, because he doesn't live too far. And then I opened it and I go, something looks familiar. This card looks exactly like this card. I mean, look at the same heatsink, the same I/O with the VGA port there, no display port. But me not knowing what a 1050 Ti is supposed to look like, I thought maybe that's just how they were, or maybe it's just a cheaper version. And it turned out to be not a 1050 Ti. So what I'm gonna do here is just go over quickly before I show you what actually happened. warning signs for a card that is online and maybe looks a little suspect. And we covered a little bit of that in the previous video, but I just want to go over them directly. So in all of the cards that I've done, which is maybe, I would say, close to 15 at this point, there are some heat sinks that look like this, but they're not like that. They're usually black. The aluminum ones, the fin array goes this way, not that way. I could be wrong about that, but I'm just saying it looks nothing like what I'm used to. Also, the way that these two screws are on the side, that's strange. You don't usually go sideways. There are sideways ones, but not that way. And then you have a 2-pin fan connector instead of a 3 or 4-pin fan connector. So that's a red flag. Also, there's no identification. So it doesn't matter what brand it is, there should be some identifier of the brand here, even if it's a fake brand. And someone else was saying that this should have a power connector here if it's a 1050 Ti. Another red flag is the memory being on the back. Typically the memory is not on the back. See the tag here, there's no skew. So there should be a part number here that you could Google and look up and say this is X brand, even if the brand part is missing. So it just says 1050 Ti. The screws look cheap here. There is a heat sink here, but typically from all the ones that I've seen, the screws don't go into the heatsink like this. They're either the spring-loaded ones, or they have sometimes plastic push pins that you pop out, but not direct screws. And also you typically don't have the fan going past the heatsink like this, just blowing somewhere. But I think if you look closely, they're almost like the same kind of setup. So this one also has the no part number, no skew here. There's just, looks like there's something missing. I mean, it works, but still, it's just... Anyway, so I put it in and it didn't work. The drivers would not install. It would come up as a 1050 Ti. And I'm going to show you now what it says on the computer, but this is completely a fake 1050 Ti. These are the ones that you get from wish.com or AliExpress, which would have probably been like $45 or something, but it doesn't actually do anything. It's possible if it was maybe Windows 7 and you would use the driver disk that would come with it. I've seen these work before. So you have to use their kind of hacked drivers, and then the BIOS is hacked as well, so you can't update the BIOS without special hardware that goes to this part right here. That's how you would have to flash the BIOS. So it would work in some capacity, I think, if you use their drivers, but if you don't, Windows won't install its own drivers, and then I downloaded the GeForce drivers. It did install, but they don't work. So it won't do anything. So now let's take a look at Windows. So this is Device Manager, and after I installed the NVIDIA official drivers, it just comes up like this and it says it can't start. So I pulled up GPU-Z and I immediately laughed because it actually says fake 1050 Ti with a big exclamation point. So at this point, I guess it knows that it's not really a 1050 Ti. But if it's not, then what is it? So you go here to GPU, part number GF116, and then all we have to do is look that up and see what it actually is. I'm not sure which 116 it is, but it comes up as 450 or 540, 550. And so it's clearly not a 1050 Ti. It's a lower card that has been BIOS hacked or something to appear to be a 1050 Ti. Now this buddy of mine, he just bought it himself and he had trouble getting it to work with Windows 11. So it's not his fault. Whoever sold it to him lied and presented it as a 1050 Ti. And so that's the story. It won't work. It won't do anything. So luckily there is some sort of a happy ending to the story. Here's the fake 1050 Ti that does not work at all. But since it was based on the same design as the somewhat fake 750 Ti, which I had no fans for, but did actually work and did actually run Fortnite, I was able to simply move the fan assembly to the 750 Ti. So now this will work. It was a little bit bigger of a heatsink than the other one, so I kind of had to stretch that out a little bit, but the mounting holes lined up and the fan connector was the same. Even though it's still a crappy 750 Ti copycat, this does run Fortnite and now it has fans, so it will go into some sort of budget system at some point, and at least that will be redeemed. So all is well. Anyway, just take caution when you're looking at cards. Make sure you ask a lot of questions, look for identifiers, and hopefully you don't get scammed. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.